viewers, Optical 20 back for another video, and this was actually requested by Gollum 475 Dejong. That was a long username, but this is for you, Gollum. He put in the comments, just to give some tips for new collectors. One of the things in the comments was how to move Hot Toys if you are moving from one place to another. What I would suggest is use the box that it came with, because that box is tight, it's fully secured, your figure is going to be secured. Now, if that's not possible, let's say you're one of those guys who can't keep the boxes, and that's fully understandable. What I would personally do is I'll go to a hardware store or some on FedEx, buy a bunch of bubble wraps, and I'll just wrap it around, put a tape on it, throw them in the box. The last thing you want to do is put them somewhere, like say in a suitcase, and if there's any movement on that suitcase, they start banging onto one another, and paint chips and all that stuff. That's not good for your figure. So that's what I would personally do. But leave in the comments if this guy is moving, let's help him out and make sure that nothing gets damaged on his move. So what I would do is I'll give you guys some 3 tips for new collectors. I've been doing this for a while now, and I'm not saying this is set in stone. This is just from personal experience. I made some mistakes when I was collecting, when I was new. Up to now, I still make some mistakes every now and then. I sold my Mark 6 for under retail, but it was a good friend of mine, so that's okay. But yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid. So if you're a new collector, this might help you out on your path to bankruptcy. So let's get started. The first tip that I can give you is buy what you want. And what do I mean by that? When you are starting, the prices of Hot Toys could be intimidating, especially if you're a student, you're in a limited income, but you just really want to collect. And you find these things that are just, you're fascinated with them. They are lifelike. You have this every idea on how you're going to display them. But the logical side of you is thinking, I can't afford every single Hot Toys. And that's the case for most people, except for other people who just buys every release out there, and more power to them if that's the case. But this video is made for you guys, for people like myself that are starting. So what I would suggest is buy what you want. And what I mean by that is that don't buy every single thing, but be smart about it. What you don't want to do is be shackled by these perception. Like, let's say if you like Iron Man, and I'm just gonna stick to Iron Man. Let's say you're buying Iron Man, but you also like Back to the Future, and Marty McFly came over. There's a nice figure, but you don't want to buy it because it's not gonna look good in your collection. And my friend was like that, and it could make you feel miserable, to be quite honest with you. Buy what you want. Forget about sticking with one line. Or when I was starting, just to give an example, I was just Dark Knight. I'm just gonna collect Dark Knight, so I'm not gonna buy anything else. So what happened, one figure came out, I think it was DX13 or something like that, and I really wanted it, but I was sticking to my Dark Knight line. I didn't buy it, but I really wanted it, so down the line I bought it on eBay, and I overpaid. Now, granting you don't have to overpay, be smart about it. If you, for an example, if you just like Marvel, you just Marvel all throughout, and then say Back to the Future, Marty McFly came out again, let's say Back to the Future 3. What are the odds that they're going to make a new Marty McFly after this figure? They're slim to none, right? Because that's the last Marty McFly, perhaps. Because they did 1, 2, and 3, and maybe there's not going to be any more. So I would say jump on it. Because if you really do like the figure, and I'm talking about really like it, and Marty McFly is the main character, go ahead and jump on it. Now, if it's a different, let's say a different story, let's say you're just a DC guy, and you happen to like Black Panther, the movie, and this Black Panther, the one that they just released for Black Panther 2, it gets released, and you're like, I want to buy it. Now you have a chance to buy it now, or if not, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a movie Black Panther 2, so you're going to get one more chance if you're really short on budget now, or if you're not too convinced that this is the best version of Black Panther. That's what I'm trying to say. Anticipate. If there's going to be a new movie, most likely you're going to get a new figure. Now, that's not always the case, but for Marvel and DC, you can almost bank it if they're a higher tiered character. Again, I know something happened to us when it comes to the robot guy from Justice League, whatever his name is, Cyborg. But that's You know, he's not that main of a character. Anyway. He's not Batman, Superman, or Flash or something like that. Let's just put it this way, he's never gonna have his own movie. Maybe. I don't know. DC's, like that. But that's what I mean by that. So don't be shackled by these terms and save in other ways, not in those like you really wanted. You know, if you're a DC guy, you see Black Panther, and you really love Black Panther, and Shuri's out there, and Shuri's an amazing head sculpt. Are they gonna make another Shuri, on Black Panther too? Maybe, maybe not. But this is a risk you're willing to take, which I would rather not risk it. If I really do love Black Panther, and I just want to complete that line, and then I'll go back to DC. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, so number 2 tip that I can give you guys is that watch reviews. Watch YouTube reviews, specifically my channel, because my reviews are just awesome. But in all seriousness though, find someone who finds flaws in the figures. So don't be very careful though, because I tend to be biased as well on the franchises that I do like. So I'm not even gonna lie about that. There are certain figures that I'm wearing like rose-colored glasses. Because let's be honest, on Hot Toys, even their worst figure is awesome. So you gotta find the fault. These are expensive figures, and some people can only afford 1 or 2 a year, or maybe ever. So I want to make sure that when I deliver this, I make sure that I tell you the pros and cons. Maybe there isn't, and that's okay. But I would suggest watch multiple reviews before, especially if you have limited budget, before you dive in, because these are not $20 figures. These are 200 at least sort of figures. So it's not, and they're very dangerous as well. If you buy it on eBay, you can't return them, which I'm going to go to the next tip that I would give you. But watch reviews, process it, don't jump on it right away. Especially nowadays, this is not 2012 or 13 where Hawkeye is gonna sell out if you don't jump on it right away. We've seen it multiple times now. Hot Toys is a business, and they're re-releasing figures. The risks are smaller, not back in the day where if it got sell out, it is sold out, and you have to pay $500 for a crappy Hawkeye in the aftermarket. So it's a different time, it's a good time to be a collector. Even though the price is getting higher, you're getting more and more chances, and again, it's not the same for every figure. There's exception like Mark 47 and like the Iron Man figures, but for the most part, if you like it, jump on it. If you can't afford it right now, I would say just be patient and you'll find a better deal, or just be smart about it. It all comes down to that. And the number 3 tip that I can give you, buy from a reputable dealer and be selective on the figure. Now I understand, like, how are you gonna buy DX13, which is the Terminator 2 from Hot Toys or Big Bad Toy Store from Sideshow? They're sold out. Now you have no choice, because you gotta go to eBay to get those, or other avenues and all that stuff. Before I would go to, and depending on the figure, if you're buying somebody like the Crow, all you gotta worry about is is he flaking? His pants, his trench coat, are they flaking? That's why on my number 2 tip, this is really important, because if you're a new collector, you might be hunting down older figures that you might not be able to buy from Big Bad. Even though Big Bad has a wide selection of older figures, I think they still even have the Purple Coat Joker, which was released 2 years ago, and some of them are like really old too. So check Big Bad Toy Store first. If you don't find them, of course you're gonna go to eBay. But before going to eBay, check your Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. And I say that because I sell a lot on Craigslist, and you might find a guy who's just doing like myself, who's doing reviews and then getting rid of them. And also the advantage of you seeing them face to face is that you can inspect the figure in hand, compared to eBay, which might be a he said, she said, and you're gonna go to this entire claiming process, which might take a while. So that's what I would suggest. And things to avoid on eBay, if you could, is Iron Man figures, because they are really sensitive. Sometimes you'll get a seller who's a sealed box. It's not even their fault. Sometimes the arm is just not lighting up. It doesn't mean that the seller hustled you or tricked you into buying it. Maybe he just really didn't know. And it happened to me coming from Big Bad. The helmet just doesn't light up, and it's not Big Bad's fault. It's Hot Toys' fault. And Hot Toys is known for having a shady quality control. And let's just face it. that's why on my second part, my second tip earlier on the reviews, I know some people in the community who I feel like they have stocks on Hot Toys, like they can't do anything wrong. So I gotta take those. If I was a new collector, I'm gonna take those guys' words with a grain of salt because they can't find anything wrong, like the pink panties for the older Iron Man. So you gotta know the issues of any figure that you wanted to buy, especially if you're new. Before you dive in, it was like, okay, die cast is expensive. I don't really need die cast, so I'm just gonna go to the older plastic figures. I'll be happy with them. Well, just to let you know, there's this thing called pink panties. So just do a review first, or ask, ask in my channel. Feel free to drop a DM on my Instagram or here. I'll be happy to help you guys out in any way I could. But those things that you might want to avoid on eBay, or before you buy on eBay, find out, let's say if you have something in mind. Enter Bay Jordan, what's the most common thing that happens to them? Staining on the leg because of those things. Iron Man, things not lighting up, pink panties, corroded batteries, scratched, those are hard to avoid on Iron Mans because they're so shiny, and if the owner is not careful, they might scratch the figure. So research, and on eBay, try to, I wouldn't think twice buying, let's say, Marty McFly on eBay, because what's the worst that could happen? Rip on the shirt, or maybe the loose joints, which is really rare unless a kid is playing around with it, or he's posting it way too much, or just missing accessories. Those are always risky. But what I'm talking about is the ones that even the seller doesn't have control over. It might really be working, like his repulsor hand might be really working before he sent it to you, and all of a sudden on the way there, UPS just banged it around and now it's not working anymore. What are you guys gonna do now? So try to, as much as you could, try to buy it from a reputable dealer. Unless you really have a great deal on eBay or Craigslist, I would jump on it. But because on Big Bad, you can return it. If you're not happy with it, you can return it right away. So those are the 3 tips that I can suggest to you, to new collectors, or even older ones if you don't think this way. Hopefully this really does help you out. If you have any more questions or want a topic to be discussed later on, drop it down in the comments down below. I'd be happy to tackle that on the next video. So once again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll see you guys in the next video.